Redditors who married mail order brides from Russia or the Philippines. What surprised you the most when you started living with your spouse? I lived in Ukraine as a teen and I used to get flyers handed to me on the street stating that I could live in America guaranteed if I joined a dating site. I also worked in the US Embassy there for a summer. We had an elderly man, probably in his 90s, come to us to request a visa for his 20-year-old fiancée. Turns out it was his fourth 20-year-old bride and he just kept getting them because he was lonely and felt like he was helping them. Or, he was eating them. Do mail order grooms also exist? Just asking for a friend. I worked with a guy that married a mail order bride from Thailand. Guy was one of the creepiest, most disgusting person I've met since he rarely took a shower or brushed his teeth. I saw his then wife a couple of times. She was extremely attractive and I wondered how she managed to endure that guy. Anyways, after several years of being married, she got the Swiss citizenship and divorced him. He had bought tons of houses and property in Thailand but were registered in her name since foreigners can't legally own property in Thailand. As far as I know, she basically did a long-term scam and got the best of him in the end. Now he lives in single-bedroom apartment while his ex-wife is back in Thailand. It's not easy, but it is doable. There are indeed foreigners that own property. It must be awkward if your wife is from Asia or the former USSR. You didn't meet through a mail order bride service, but people assume you did. This happens every dang time. I'm European and had one wife and 3 long relationships with Asian girls, women who I met in my own country. Even worse is I took my 2 teenage daughters, Eurasian mixed, traveling around Asia last year and everyone assumed one or both were my partners. They were more embarrassed than me at times. For an acquaintance of mine, the biggest surprise was finding out that when his wife was sending money back home to her family, it was to her husband, not ex, and kids in the Philippines. There's no divorce in the Philippines. Chances are she was sending money to the kids through the dad and the dad was mooching off, if he was an ex. Story old as time. Similar story to the top post. My dad married a girl from the Philippines years ago after my parents divorced and at first I was concerned about the situation and also felt angry about the whole situation. Parents breaking up, him starting a new life and family, etc. But they have been married for 10 or 12 years now, have 3 awesome kids, and she does a great job at picking out gifts for our son on birthdays and Christmas. She's very nice and has done good at changing some of the bad things about my dad. I'm very happy for them. I work in the oil field and a common theme is divorce. A coworker was divorced by his wife of 20 years and she took half of everything. He later decided to get a mail order bride from Brazil. He was working offshore there at the time. She was smoking hot but 6 years later developed terminal cancer. Before she died he ordered another bride from Thailand and she took over the regular house chores and took care of the Brazilian. He told me this story when I was offshore talking about my girlfriend and confirmed it with photos and by other co-workers. Welcome to the oil field. I'm conflicted on how to feel about this. In a way it's sweet that he got someone to take care of her and be with her when he was offshore. Serious, my father met a girl from the Philippines online, but instead of moving her to the US, he moved to the Philippines. That was 15 years ago and they seem really happy. Your dad was a mail order groom. Reading through the comments, I realized that my mom was a mail order bride. I think I knew, but I never really believed it. So thanks, Reddit. I just went through an entire cycle of acceptance regarding this. Throwaway because my usual username is literally my name. After my dad's divorce from his first wife, he did a lot of mixers and singles parties. He was freaking out that he was almost 50 and was the only one out of his siblings without a family. My favorite part of this story is that he said the last straw before he turned to dating magazines was when he went to a dance for singles and had to escape out of a bathroom window from a very aggressive gay man. So he sent letters to all the women he was interested in and then planned his trip to meet all of them in their respective countries. The woman before he met my mom actually tried to trap him in a room when she found out there were other girls he was planning to see. I'm glad he kept going after that because he went on to meet my mom in the Philippines. They had a connection and began dating until he brought her back to the States and got married. Reviewing this story now I can't believe I didn't think it was a mail order bride thing. For years I would deny it by saying it was a dating magazine. But I can see why. My parents really love and work well together. Reading about how most men that get a mail order bride are. I can confirm that my dad is kind of a socially awkward guy. He has the goofiest quirks, and he dotes upon my mom. My mom is definitely not subservient. She is the one who calls the shots, but there is give and take and I love them to death. They love each other and you love them both. The rest doesn't matter. I used to teach ISOL and TEFL and taught many women who had married through agencies. They were all supporting people back home. The husbands were, by and large, nice enough guys who didn't have the most amazing social skills. A few ladies were past 45 and looking for a new adventure in life. They spoke about sex the same way they spoke about housework or any task to be completed. They were also doing it to have kids in safer, healthier places. None of them were in love with the men, but they all loved them. The men all adored them, just worshipped the very ground they walked on. On average it seemed to work out as well as more traditional arranged marriage as we in the West think of as commonly happening in places like India. They were all supporting people back home. This is mostly true for the majority of immigrants I know, whether they are mail order brides or not. A lot of money goes back home to support family, as a lot of those countries they come from have little to no form of social assistance even if you are sick or elderly. My father brought my mum at an auction in Thailand a long time ago. It's pretty weird and he was kinda a creepy guy, so basically what you'd expect. They visited her home country sometimes, but beside that mostly just kept to themselves. From what I can gather their relationship stopped being sexual after a decade or so, but they got on well enough through shared experience by that point to continue together. I think she even helped him organize his affairs. My mum was always very kind but kinda hopeless when it came to herself. It's not that she didn't get a chance to do whatever she wants, it's just that as far as she was aware doing whatever she wants involves looking after someone and doing things for people. Throw away because family. My uncle did. When he was 65, his bride was 37. For a start it was weird, and he tells how she'd cook meals and stand behind him so she couldn't be seen but could attend to anything he wanted. She would insist he finish before a massage and being tucked into bed. She seemed under the impression that a man was to be kept like a king and she was there for food and sex. She would only eat for herself after he was asleep. He tells us he had to metaphorically beat the submissiveness out of her. Now 14 years later they have 3 kids. She is freaking insane in that fun insane kind of way, and more a part of the family than most of the extended family I grew up with. Cultures well and truly blended beautifully, and when she visits, I get substantially fatter. I didn't marry a mail order bride, but I used to work a job that required me to go into people's houses, and one was obviously a mail ordered bride. She did not speak English and just sat in a chair staring at the wall looking very depressed. They had a ridiculous amount of humidifiers in the home so that it could be more like where she came from. He hung a huge picture of the two on the wedding day above his bed, and while he was smiling she wasn't even looking at the camera and just looked so depressed. We bought our Maltese from a breeder who I suspected had a mail order. He was a much older white man and she was Asian and couldn't have been older than 35. Didn't speak any English and was yelling at him the whole time in another language. Turned out to be a great dog though. For anyone interested in this, I highly recommend Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends, Thai Brides. A very revealing, non-judgmental look at all those involved in the business. You should ask the women who got married, you will get different responses. I don't know if I would qualify, but I'm a woman from an Eastern European country where the average monthly salary is $300, and I married a man from Norway, out of love, of course, but that's the last thing people assume. If those women were treated anything like I was, I don't envy them. I studied with a guy that mail-ordered bride from Philippines. He was one of those people that start university in second half of their lives, art academy to be precise. The guy was nicknamed Santa Claus because of his age and long white beard, so he got this hot 25+ year girl that treated him like some kind of sheikh, cooked, washed and sexually pleased him, and the donghead had tenacity to keep bitching that she has small t. Some people. I don't think he was really Santa Claus. Pretty sure my uncle did this with a Romanian woman. He owned a moving company and it was all under the disguise of he met her while moving her from the Romania to the USA. I was young at the time and didn't know what mail order brides were at the time. I still don't know if he ordered her or not. No one in my family has ever mentioned it and I am in my 30s now. They divorced after the 2-year mark where she was legal to be here in the States. So, my uncle ordered her, was paid to bring her here under marriage agreement, or they really met while he was moving her and the marriage fell apart coincidentally at the 2-year mark. She was hot. Or your uncle was paid to marry her in order to get her into the States and he did it to get some cash to help his failing moving company. Girlfriend's dad is a Floridian redneck who married a woman from Trinidad while in the army. She's a bit of a nasty sociopath anyways and they divorced when my girlfriend was young. We met the dad a few weeks ago at a local truck stop and during lunch he flat out said the second she got her citizenship everything changed. I have been told by many a German woman and German men would really like me. I don't know exactly what this says about me, but if any German men aged 28-34 are looking to move to America and be my food and sex provider, I am able to pay some pittance that you're surely worth more than. Don't worry, I'll wait for the applications to flow in. I took a German class once in college. So I worked with a woman who was a mail order bride. She talked to me about it once and said when she arrived she did the whole submissive wife thing but quickly realized that is not what her new hubs wanted. As they got to know each other they realized that they had a lot in common. She said she fell in love with him right away because he treated her like she was his equal partner in life, and the more they got to know each other the harder she fell. On their 3rd anniversary they had a real wedding with a honeymoon. They just celebrated 10 years together and they are still madly in love. They go visit her family twice a year and they help support them. I've met her husband quite a few times and he is definitely an awkward guy, but he seems to be as madly in love with her as she is with him. I'm wondering what I would get if I got a mail order groom from Russia. I think he might have trouble with the language but still try and order me around. Then he would storm out, mow the lawn, change the oil in my car and then try to invade my neighbor's backyard. As long as you supply tracksuits and vodka you'll be fine. My dad had a co-worker years and years ago that had a mail order bride from some Southeast Asian country. I was 10 or 11 at the time. They were very open about it. My dad told me about it before we went over to their house for dinner once, which I find surprising since I'd never heard of such a thing before and you don't know how a 10-year-old is going to react to something like that. I was kind of excited to meet her. She was very nice and spoke perfect English. She worked for a maid service and played the piano very well. I asked her things like why did you decide to be purchased as a wife and stuff like that. She said life in my home country was very bad. I had family members who were killed by a gang that controlled our hometown, and this provided me a chance to live a much better life. She might have been sending money home. I'm not sure. But it was interesting to see and talk to her, and there was definitely no shame in what went on between the two of them. Thinking back on it I really respected that. My uncle married a mail order bride from the Philippines. He was 55 and fairly good looking, but he lived in a small city and didn't have much money. He is also super into health and wellness, as well as a fundamentalist Christian, so he just wasn't having the best luck stateside. They met on a Christian dating site catering to American European men looking to meet Filipinas. He visited her in Manila once. She had her MBA but her family was still destitute and living in a shack with a concrete floor. She isn't what I would call smoking hot, but she was 38 with a decent body. They got married the day he brought her over. She borrowed his sister's old wedding dress. She barely spoke English. It was weird. As other people mentioned with Filipina brides, she was extremely submissive and quiet, just making a lot of food and cleaning. When my grandpa died she was a godsend, always making sure the house was clean and fridge was stocked as the family grieved. I know they went through some rough patches. I think she had a much more glamorous view of America than the small, Midwestern town they lived in, and their lower middle class lifestyle. For years she spent all day on Skype with her sister, who ended up marrying a much wealthier, English man. They tried unsuccessfully to have a baby hoping it would fix things. I just saw them at Thanksgiving, and they seemed happy enough. Both total, 100% squares. They are crazy into health. They brought their own deionized water and only drank that the whole trip, and they left after only one day so they could go home to some church event. So I guess they're a perfect match after all. If there's a reverse mail order husband thingy out there, I'd love to go to Estonia and work on the family farm. I have a relative who was essentially a mail order bride. I've always been a little murky on exactly what the relationship is. I think she's my grandfather's cousin, though she's about 30 years younger than him. My family is from Ukraine, and she came over not quite 20 years ago. She was in her early 30s at the time, already divorced with a daughter. The guy she married was older, in his 50s, well-to-do, and a psychological mess. He never hit her, but clearly had some form of personality disorder. He would oscillate between being kind and apologetic and being nasty and cruel. She spent about 18 months living with my grandparents while legally married to him as she waited for her green card to process. He was apparently not thrilled with this idea, but also not so pissed off that he tried to end the marriage. By the last few months, it was understood by everyone that the marriage was a formality. Divorce papers were drawn up. They were signed and filed within a week of her being officially naturalized. Since then, she's brought her daughter over and married a retired long-haul trucker. He's a good old boy and proud redneck who positively dotes on her. I always remember the time he told me, "I tell you what, Blenderhead 36. Ukrainian girl is the best girls there is. They seem to be genuinely in love." We joke that they must be comfortable with each other because she gained about 15 pounds after getting married. Pierogies, cabbage rolls, sour cream and bacon bits would flip any redneck into the love zone. My uncle married a Thai woman with a daughter my age. A month after they came over to live here from Thailand, we had a big family reunion. All the other cousins, we were age 9 to 13, didn't even try to communicate with her daughter. But when we played hide and seek in the forest, I brought her with me, and we spent the whole day trying to talk and teaching each other new words. A few years later we ended up in the same school and we've been really close ever since. That's my story anyways. Not me, but my friend's dad has a mail order bride from the Ukraine. It went well for a little while until she freaked out on him, started breaking stuff in his house, then marked her neck really bad with a scarf. She ended up calling the police and he got arrested and his name in the paper, although I'm pretty sure the charges are going to get dropped. I highly suspect that the point at which she started to go crazy was very close to the time she no longer needed to be married for her to remain in the country. Russian here. Linguistics major, so I know quite a few women who became mail order brides. None were close friends, but a few were close enough to add on social networks, so I had a rough idea about their lives. 1. Married a Japanese guy from some rich family. Loved him. Guy turned out to crazy. Nearly stabbed her. She ran back to Russia. 2. Married a nondescript looking American guy, telling everyone it's just for citizenship and alimony. Before getting citizenship, some relative got her a very high-end government job in Russia, so now she's back. If you're ever a tourist and see tall, fat blonde with huge silicone lips in one of the country's major museums, that's her. 3. Married an Italian telling everyone it's just to get money and experience life in Italy. Intended to return to her backwater town of Cynical eventually. Left the Italian for a Korean guy and seems to be traveling with him non-stop. 4. Got engaged to Korean guy she met at work and wanted to emigrate with. Not exactly a mail order bride scheme, but still qualifies somewhat, I suppose. Right before actually leaving, guy dumps her, saying he's going to the Philippines and is going to find a bride there. 5. Cynical B-type in master's course. Always said she wanted to marry a rich foreigner and take him for what he has. Married a Turkish businessman 2 years ago and they just won't stop posting their pics on Facebook. The only such couple I know that actually looks genuinely happy and in love with each other. I kind of wonder if this is what happened to my cousin in the Philippines. All of a sudden, it seemed to me, she had met a German guy online, and they were talking. Then he came over to meet the family, and moved with him to Germany and got married, all in the span of a year or two. They do seem pretty happy together from their pics with their kids though, and she doesn't really fit the mold of a mail order bride. Guy I used to work with was mid-mail order when I left the company. He was mid-40s and kind of slow. Once reveled at compressed air in a can, the kind you use to clean keyboards, by saying holy crap, what will they think of next? Super nice guy, except that he constantly talked about this woman overseas that, from everyone else's perspective, didn't seem to be too into him. He constantly talked about bringing her over and made trips to her country, but they always ended with her being reluctant to move to our country UK full time. He used his breaks every day to chat with her over Skype, constantly told everyone without prompting that they'd be speaking together that day, etc. This had carried on for at least 1-2 years by the time I joined the company. Anyone might guess that her reluctance was largely rooted in not wanting to spend whatever the allotted time for citizenship may be with a man who is slightly daft. Others could say she just didn't want to take the pee out of someone who was so deeply into her. No one in the office wanted to tell him these things, so instead they offered counsel every time he asked things like whether having her visit and surprising her with a wedding was a good idea. No, Clive. No, it is not a good idea. My former stepfather had a mail order bride from the Philippines. He had a drug and drinking problem. While my mother left him, one night his loving bride found him overdosing and left him for dead. She collected the insurance money and was with someone else 2 weeks later. You have been visited by the rock and roll doggo. Like and comment rock on doggo to keep doggo's dreams alive. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.